Robert Davis Bever was born in 1996 in Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. He was the eldest of 7 children in the Bever family, which included his younger brother Michael John Bever, who was born in 1998. On the night of July 22, 2015, in the quiet suburb of Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, a shocking act unfolded. Brothers Robert and Michael Bever, aged 18 and 16, carried out a careful plan to fatally harm their parents and 3 younger siblings. Their goal was twisted fame. The event stunned the community and left many people in shock. The Bever family lived a very private life. David and April Bever homeschooled their 7 children. They kept almost no contact with neighbors. Some people said the parents set strict rules that kept the children inside the house most of the time. After the incident, many neighbors realized they barely knew the family. Robert and Michael later spoke of harsh treatment at home. Robert said his parents used physical force and harsh words against him. He claimed his father once dragged him upstairs over a small mistake. He said his mother once slapped him until he had bruises. Those claims were never proven in court. Late on July 22nd, the brothers began their plan. They were armed with sharp weapons. They went from room to room, striking each family member. Their 13-year-old daughter Crystal survived despite a cut throat and multiple stab wounds. The family's youngest child, age 2, was found safe and unharmed. Daniel managed to call 911 in the midst of the chaos. He told the dispatcher what he saw. Police arrived quickly and discovered the scene. They found Robert and Michael hiding in nearby woods. Robert still held the weapon when officers took him into custody. Investigators uncovered a flash drive in the brothers' room. It contained plans for more harmful acts. The brothers wanted to outdo past cases. They wrote about storing the bodies and then traveling across the country. Their aim was to harm at least 50 people. They even planned to record everything and share it online. Robert said he chose his family first, so nothing would stop his broader plans. He also claimed the harsh treatment they faced made it somehow justified. Experts found that reasoning hard to accept. In court, Robert admitted he was responsible. He pled guilty to 5 counts of first-degree fatal harm and 1 count of causing serious injury. In 2016, he received a life sentence with no chance of release. Michael was tried as an adult, too. In 2018, he was found guilty on the same counts. He got 5 life sentences back-to-back, plus 28 extra years for the harm to his sister. He could technically ask for early release after serving most of his term, but the total length means he will stay. At his trial, Michael chose not to speak in his own defense. His lawyers said he followed Robert's lead, but Michael's own statements to police showed he took part willingly. The Bever house was later torn down. In its place stands Reflection Park, a space meant to honor the victims and the first responders who came that night. As of May 10, 2025, both Robert and Michael Bever remain behind bars in Oklahoma. They serve their life sentences with no execution date ever set. But what could drive a 17-year-old in Florida to commit an unthinkable act and then throw a party like nothing had happened? Tyler Hadley was born in 1993. He spent his first month in the hospital's neonatal unit. He grew up in Port St. Lucie, Florida, with his parents, Mary Jo and Blake Hadley. Mary Jo taught elementary school for 24 years. Blake worked as a watch engineer at Florida Power and Light. Tyler's older brother, Ryan, was living in North Carolina when the tragic events happened. As a child, Tyler struggled with depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. By age 16, he had begun drinking heavily, along with a mix of recreational and prescription substances. He also got into trouble at school often. He skipped classes and took part in minor illegal acts like setting small fires, stealing things, and defacing property. On July 16, 2011, when Tyler was 17, he targeted his parents with a hammer until they were no longer alive. He then spent hours cleaning up the scene. After that, he threw a party at their house. He invited about 60 people through Facebook. He hid his parents' bodies in the master bedroom and covered them with household items. During the party, Tyler let his friend Michael Mandel into the bedroom. He showed Michael what he had done. Michael was shocked and called the police early the next morning. That call led to Tyler's arrest. Investigators found several reasons behind what happened. Tyler had tried an outpatient treatment program for his substance use, but found it unhelpful. His parents made sure he could get help 24/7. He did not want to go. He was also involved in a lawsuit for injuring a child while driving his father's car. That lawsuit was for $15,000 and added more tension at home. Tyler was charged in connection with the loss of 2 lives. In February 2014, he entered a no-contest plea. He avoided a full trial. Judge Robert R. Makehamson gave him 2 life sentences, one after the other, with no chance of getting out. The judge said the act was brutal, planned, and showed no mercy. In April 2016, the Florida Supreme Court said that people under 18 at the time of such acts must have a chance to have their sentences reviewed after 25 years. Because of that decision, Tyler's original sentence was overturned. In December 2018, he was given life in prison again, but this time he can ask for parole after serving 25 years. At his resentencing hearing, Tyler said he felt deep regret. He admitted he still didn't understand why he ended his parents' lives. He told the judge, "I still don't understand myself and the reasons for my actions." Trying to explain would just sound like making excuses, and there is no excuse. He said he wished none of it had ever occurred. How did a daughter, convinced she was sick, recruit a stranger to end the life of a woman she called Mom? Gypsy Rose Blanchard was born in 1991 in Golden Meadow, Louisiana. As a baby, her mother Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard put her through harmful treatment. Dee Dee claimed Gypsy had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, and serious hearing and vision problems. She forced Gypsy into needless surgeries and treatments, and even changed official records to make her look younger, all to get money and gifts from well-wishers. Growing up, Gypsy spent her days in a wheelchair and was fed through a tube. She came to believe she was gravely ill. Neighbors and strangers rallied around them, convinced they were supporting a devoted mother caring for a terminally ill child. In reality, Gypsy was healthy and fully capable of walking. In early 2015, Gypsy connected online with a man named Nicholas Godejohn. They grew close and began talking about putting an end to Dee Dee's control. On June 14, 2015, Gypsy handed Nicholas duct tape, gloves, and a sharp weapon, and guided him step by step. She stayed hidden in the bathroom, covering her ears so she wouldn't hear what happened. Nicholas used the sharp object to inflict 17 wounds on Dee Dee while she slept. Afterward, the two fled to a motel and later traveled to Wisconsin. Soon, law enforcement located them and took them into custody. Gypsy was charged in connection with the fatal incident. Given the extreme mistreatment she endured, prosecutors offered her a reduced charge. In 2016, she pleaded guilty to a lesser count and was given a 10-year prison term. She served about 8 years and was released on parole in December 2023. Godejohn went to trial separately. He was found responsible for taking Dee Dee's life and was sentenced to spend the rest of his life in prison with no chance of early release. This situation drew wide attention. It exposed the dangers of Munchausen syndrome by proxy and the lengths to which Dee Dee went to exploit her daughter's supposed illnesses. After her release, Gypsy began speaking publicly about her experience. She married Ryan Scott Anderson in 2022. They divorced in 2024. In December 2024, she gave birth to a daughter named Aurora with her partner, Ken Erker. As of May 10, 2025, Gypsy Rose Blanchard is 33 years old and living in the United States. She continues to share her story through interviews and public appearances, hoping to help others recognize and escape harmful treatment. Next is a case where a 14-year-old says years of mistreatment drove him to take the lives of his own family on a New Mexico ranch. Cody Posey was born in 1989. His early childhood was unstable. His parents, Delbert Paul Posey and Carla Burst, divorced in 1992. That led to a long fight over custody. Cody first lived with his mother. After she passed away in a car crash, he went to live with his father, Paul Posey. Paul had married Tryon Schmid. They all lived on Chavez Canyon Ranch in Hondo, New Mexico. The ranch belonged to newsman Sam Donaldson. Paul worked there as the foreman. On July 5, 2004, 14-year-old Cody shot his father, his stepmother, and his 13-year-old stepsister, Mary Lee Schmid. He then hid their bodies in a pile of manure on the ranch. A few days later, Sam Donaldson came back to the ranch and found signs of an unsettling scene. At trial, Cody said he only acted after years of mistreatment. He said his father had pressed a hot metal rod against him after he refused an inappropriate proposition by his stepmother the night before. The next morning, while doing chores, his father slapped him. After that, Cody took a revolver. He shot his stepmother first, then his father, and finally his stepsister. None of them survived. In court, witnesses spoke about Cody's mistreatment. The prosecution argued Cody planned the shootings and that no mistreatment took place. On February 7, 2006, the jury found Cody responsible for the intentional taking of life of his stepsister in the first degree, intentional taking of life of his stepmother in the second degree, and voluntary manslaughter for his father. He was also found guilty of 4 counts of evidence tampering. The prosecution asked for an adult sentence. Instead, Judge James Wayland Counts treated Cody as a juvenile, hoping he could turn his life around. Cody was ordered to stay in state custody until he turned 21. Cody reached his 21st birthday on October 9, 2010, and was released that day. While in custody, he finished high school and earned nearly 2 years of college credit. His uncle later said Cody had no behavioral problems and often helped younger youth in custody. Now, meet the Texas son who enlisted his girlfriend and a friend to end the life of his parents for a $1.65 million inheritance. On December 11, 2003, Rick and Susanna Wamsley were found fatally harmed in their Mansfield, Texas home. Their son, Andrew Wamsley, his girlfriend Chelsea Richardson, and their friend Susanna Toledano were behind the plan. They hoped to secure Andrew's inheritance, worth about $1.65 million. Andrew Wamsley was born in 1984 and was the second child of Rick and Susanna. In January 2003, he began dating Chelsea Richardson. His parents disapproved and cut off his allowance. That drove a wedge between them and left him wanting money of his own. Chelsea Richardson was born in 1984 and grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Tarrant County. She moved in with Andrew and quickly became a strong influence on him. Her friends said she knew how to manipulate people into doing what she wanted. Susanna Toledano was born in 1984. She was Chelsea's roommate. She struggled with her own family life and leaned on Chelsea for support. Feeling trapped and afraid, she agreed to join their plan. They first tried to tamper with Rick and Susanna's car. They aimed to cause an explosion by shooting at the gas tank. When that didn't work, they drew up a new plan. Susanna would hide in Andrew's closet and surprise his parents at night. At the last moment, she froze and backed out. Why did Susanna go along with it? She depended on Chelsea, both for money and for friendship. Chelsea used that dependence to push her into agreeing. On the night of December 11th, Susanna went into the Wamsley house and shot Susanna while she slept on the couch. Rick came running. A fight broke out. Andrew and Chelsea rushed in. Chelsea fired at Rick's back, then both women struck him with a sharp object repeatedly. He did not survive his wounds. At first, investigators had little to go on. In March 2004, DNA tests on hair found in Rick's hand matched Susanna. She was arrested in Illinois on April 5, 2004. Facing strong evidence, she confessed and named Andrew and Chelsea. Investigators also arrested Hilario Cardenas, an IHOP manager who supplied the gun. Susanna Toledano pleaded guilty to avoid the harshest punishment. She was given life with a chance of parole after 30 years. Chelsea Richardson's trial began in May 2005. Jail inmates said she admitted her part. The jury found her guilty of capital charges, and she received the severest sentence available at the time. In 2011, that was changed to life after it emerged that prosecutors had held back evidence. She'll be eligible for parole after 40 years. In March 2006, Andrew Wamsley was found guilty of capital charges and sentenced to life. The jury did not see him as a future danger, so he avoided the severest sentence. He can seek parole in 2044. Hilario Cardenas pleaded guilty to planning the entire incident. He received 50 years in prison. He is allowed to apply for parole, though requests so far have been denied. The next individual was quiet, withdrawn, and heard voices no one else could. Then one night, everything broke. And if you're still watching, you're a true crime fan. Hit subscribe for more stories like this. Zachary Davis was born in 1997 in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He was the younger of two sons. His parents were Melanie and Chris Davis. They lived a middle-class life. In 2007, Chris Davis passed away from ALS. Zachary was 10 at the time. He struggled a lot. He showed signs of deep sadness and other mental health struggles. His mother took him to see Dr. Bradley Freeman at Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Zachary said he heard voices that weren't there. After a while, his mother stopped the appointments. His care then stopped too. As a teenager, Zachary's behavior grew more odd. He was an outcast at Station Camp High School. He wore the same hoodie almost every day. He spoke in a quiet whisper. He seemed shut off from his feelings. On August 10, 2012, Zachary went to a movie with his mother and older brother Josh. After they all fell asleep, he got a sledgehammer from the basement. He went into his mother's bedroom. He struck her in the head several times while she was sleeping. The examiner said she passed from those blows. After that, Zachary tried to set the house on fire. He lit a fire in the bonus room upstairs. That was where Josh was sleeping. His brother managed to escape without harm. Later, police found Zachary walking on a nearby road. He held a notebook. Inside, he had written a letter. In it, he admitted what he did to his mother. He also said he meant to harm his brother by burning the house. When Zachary spoke to investigators, he said his mother wasn't caring for the family. He also said he heard his father's voice telling him to do it. At trial, Dr. Sandra Phillips and Dr. Bradley Freeman both said Zachary had schizophrenia and depression. Dr. Phillips pointed out that he showed no remorse. Because of how serious it was, Zachary was tried as an adult. In April 2015, the court found him guilty of planning and causing his mother's passing, of trying to do the same to his brother, and of setting the fire. He got a life sentence, plus a 20-year term for each of the other charges. Those terms run one after the other. During the trial, Zachary surprised everyone by saying his brother Josh had hurt their mother. This went against his earlier statements. The court did not believe this new claim. Zachary Davis is serving his sentence in a Tennessee prison. But what drives a daughter, overwhelmed by care duties and hidden struggles, to turn a shotgun on her own mother? Rachel Lee Hudson was born in 1994 and raised in a home shaped by hardship. Her mother's declining health dominated the household. Rachel, still just a teenager, her primary caregiver. On top of that, she was quietly battling serious mental health issues that no one had fully recognized or treated. Then, on November 29, 2013, everything fell apart. 19-year-old Rachel shot her 58-year-old mother, Susan Hudson, inside their Chesapeake, Virginia home. She used a shotgun at close range. The injury was fatal. Moments later, Rachel called her father. Through the phone, she told him what had happened. Then, in a state of emotional collapse, she sent him a photo, something that would haunt both him and responding officers. At the time, Rachel was overwhelmed. The weight of caregiving combined with undiagnosed mental illness had pushed her past the edge. In court, she explained her original plan had been to end her own life. But as she imagined the aftermath, her mother discovering her body, Rachel made a tragic, irreversible decision to prevent her mother from experiencing that pain. After her arrest, doctors evaluated her mental state. By late 2014, a judge ruled that Rachel was competent to stand trial, able to understand the charges, even as the full story behind them remained painfully complex. In June 2015, Rachel pleaded guilty to 2 charges, one for what she had done to her mother, and another for using a firearm while doing it. On November 10, 2015, she was sentenced in Chesapeake Circuit Court. The judge gave her an 18-year prison sentence. Some stories begin with silence, but the next began with a decision no child should have to make. Bria Meadows was born in 2001 in Warren, Ohio. She spent her childhood in a home marked by severe family mistreatment. Her father, Jonathan Meadows, was cruel to her mother, Brandy, and to the children. In 2011, Brandy went to the police and asked for a protective order against Jonathan. She said that over their 17 years of marriage he had caused many injuries to her. She had broken ribs, broken fingers, and bruises on her face. She was afraid for herself and for her children. "If he finds us," she said, "I am sure he will try to end our lives." The court later dropped the order, and Brandy and Jonathan went back together. Brescia's aunt, Martina Latessa, was a Cleveland police officer. She pointed out that Brescia had never been aggressive herself. Martina said Brescia was born into a nightmare of mistreatment. In May 2016, Brescia ran away from home. She went to live with her aunt because she feared for her family's safety. On July 28, 2016, at about 4 a.m., 14-year-old Brescia took her father's .45 caliber gun and fatally wounded him while he slept. Her mother called 911 right away. Police arrested Brescia and charged her with aggravated homicide. Ian Friedman, her attorney, said Brescia was trying to shield her family from a dangerous situation at home. At first, Brescia faced the chance of spending her life in prison. Her story drew attention across the country and sparked the number Free Brescia campaign. In May 2017, she agreed to a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter, a lesser charge. She was sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in juvenile detention, with credit for time already served. After that, she spent 6 months in a mental health facility. Once she turned 18, her record was set to be sealed. Brescia left the facility in early 2018 and went back home. She was placed on 2 years of probation. Her case shone a light on how hard it can be for children who grow up with ongoing harm. It also led to conversations about how the justice system handles young people in those situations. But what happens when a child half her age picks up a revolver and carries out a planned shooting? Joseph Hall was born in 2000 in California. His early life was marked by significant instability and hardship. His mother, Letitia Neal, used various illegal substances and was drinking heavily during her pregnancy, leading to concerns about Joseph's prenatal development. He showed behavior challenges early on. By age 10, he had gone to 6 different schools. He even once struck a teacher with a pencil when he was in kindergarten. On May 1st, 2011, 10-year-old Joseph Hall took a .357 Magnum revolver from his parents' bedroom. He found his father, Jeff Hall, sleeping on the couch in their Riverside, California, home. Joseph aimed for his father's head and pulled the trigger. His father later passed away. Jeff Hall was a regional leader of the National Socialist Movement, which follows neo-Nazi ideas. The weapon Joseph used came from the family's own collection. Home life offered little safety. The house was often filthy. Weapons sat where children could reach them. Jeff Hall was known to hit his children and his wife, Krista McCary. Child Protective Services got 23 reports about the home's condition. Most reports were closed without action. Joseph later told police that he had endured years of physical harm. He said he lived in constant fear of his father. He also explained that he watched an episode of Criminal Minds. In that story, a child defended themselves against a dangerous parent and suffered no consequences. That show made Joseph think he could get away with doing the same. Though he was only 10, Joseph was held responsible for second-degree charges linked to a fatal shooting. His defense team said he has developmental delays. They argued that his dangerous upbringing made him think harm was normal. Prosecutors disagreed. They pointed out that Joseph admitted planning the shooting days ahead. In 2013, Judge Jean Leonard decided Joseph did know right from wrong. She said he put the barrel of a handgun to his father's head and pulled the trigger. The judge found him guilty. Joseph was sent to a youth detention center. He will stay there until he turns 23. His lawyers asked for a private program that offers therapy and schooling. They stressed that he needs help to heal more than punishment. The next individual is a lone teenager in Alabama, whose single night ended every member of his household. Mason Cisk was born in 2005 in Alabama. He grew up in Elkmont, a small town in Limestone County. He was the oldest of 5 children. His dad, John Cisk, was 38. His mom, Mary, was 35. Mason's younger siblings were Kane, 6, Aurora, 4, and little Coulson, 6 months. They lived in a simple home, like many families in the area. Mason's childhood seemed normal. He went to the local schools. He was quiet and kept to himself. There were no big problems at school or home, but inside the family, things were tense more often than people knew. On the night of September 2nd, 2019, something terrible happened. Mason, then 14, used a gun on his father, stepmother, and 3 younger siblings while they slept. Each of them was shot in the head. None of them made it through the night. The youngest, Colson, was only 6 months old. At first, Mason said he was in the basement playing video games. He claimed he heard shots and saw a car driving away. Investigators noticed parts of his story did not match the evidence. After more questions, he finally admitted what took place. He said he was fed up with all the fighting in the house and that the kids were going through a lot. Mason faced the most serious charges under Alabama law for causing the loss of 5 family members. Because he was under 18, the harshest penalty was life behind bars, not any form of capital punishment. His first trial ended without a verdict. In April 2023, a new jury found him guilty on all counts after 2 hours of discussion. The prosecution showed a video of Mason's confession. His lawyers argued the questioning had gone on too long and was unfair. On September 7, 2023, Judge Chadwick Wise handed down a life sentence with no chance of parole. In court, the judge called the incident ghastly and said it merited the toughest punishment the law allows. Mason stayed silent at sentencing. Family members spoke about their loss and pain. One relative said, "You were part of our family since you were 4. I remember taking you to get video games and basketball practice. Now, we only have family photos to hold on to." As of May 2025, Mason remains locked up in an Alabama state facility. He has no path to leave early. His team tried to get a new trial, claiming the questioning was unfair and the case was not handled properly. Those requests were turned down. The state's appeals court has kept the convictions in place. Next, 2 parents gone, one daughter's story falling apart, and a motive no one wanted to believe. Sarah Marie Johnson was born in 1987 in Bellevue, Idaho. She grew up in a typical suburban family and went to Wood River High School in Haley. Her parents, Alan Scott Johnson and Diane Johnson, were very involved in her life and tried to guide her choices. Bruno Santos was just 19, but his ties to a Mexican criminal network made Sarah's parents uneasy. They thought his background could put Sarah in danger, so they forbade her from seeing him and took away her car keys. On September 2nd, 2003, Sarah's parents were found shot in their home. Alan had 2 gunshot wounds to his chest. Diane was shot in the head while she slept. Sarah first claimed someone else had broken in and done it. But the physical evidence did not fit that story. Investigators found Sarah's DNA on a bathrobe and on a latex glove left behind. They also found gunshot residue on a leather glove in her room. The Winchester .264 caliber rifle used in the shootings was stored in the guest house. Somewhere Sarah could reach it. Detectives concluded that Sarah's main motive was her wish to keep dating Santos. Under her parents' rules, she wasn't allowed to see him. Feeling trapped, she decided to remove what stood in her way. In March 2005, she went on trial for the shootings of her parents. The prosecutor showed how the forensic details, DNA matches, residue on the glove, access to the rifle, tied Sarah to the scene. The jury rejected her claim of an outside intruder and found her guilty of 2 counts of first-degree homicide. The judge gave her 2 life sentences back-to-back, plus 15 years for using a firearm. In 2008, the Idaho Supreme Court agreed the trial was handled properly and upheld the verdict. Sarah's later requests for a new hearing, based on claims of poor defense or hints of another suspect, were all denied. The courts said there wasn't enough new proof to reopen the case. Today, Sarah Johnson is housed at the Pocatello Women's Correctional Center in Idaho. She still insists she did not commit the shootings and maintains her intruder story. But the DNA results, the gun residue findings, and every court decision to date have kept her conviction in place. David Braum was born in 1971 in Cascade Township, Minnesota. He was the second of 4 children. His parents were Bernard, age 43 at the time of his passing, and Paulette, age 42. His younger siblings were Diane, who was 13, and Richard, who was 11. The family lived in a modest home just outside Rochester, a city known for its medical facilities and quiet suburban life. Friends and neighbors said David was a quiet, polite teenager. He was 16 when the tragic event happened. Behind his calm exterior, he was wrestling with serious sadness. He had tried to take his own life twice before the incident. His father often criticized David's appearance and his taste in music. Bernard did not like David's long hair or the songs he played. That tension built up over time. On the night of February 17, 1988, David and his father argued about the music again. The argument got worse. David stayed awake into the early hours of February 18th. Around 3 a.m., he went to the basement and picked up an axe. He returned upstairs and turned on his family in an aggressive outburst. First, he struck his father, Bernard, in the parents' bedroom. After Bernard fell, David went after his mother, Paulette. Then he targeted Richard, and finally Diane, who he found in the hallway. Each of the four suffered many deep head wounds. The coroner noted almost 50 separate injuries across all the family members. The next morning, David did not show up at school. His absence alarmed a friend. She later said that David had stopped her on her way to class and asked her to skip school with him. While they were together, he described what he had done, admitting how he had used the axe on each member of his family. Authorities were alerted and began searching. They found David the following day at a payphone by the local post office. He was taken into custody without any trouble. Because he was under 17, he was first charged in juvenile court. But the seriousness of the event led to the case moving to adult court. At trial, David's lawyers said he was not in his right mind at the time. They pointed to his history of severe depression and his earlier suicide attempts. The prosecution argued that he knew what he was doing and understood the outcome. After deliberation, the jury found him guilty on 4 counts of first-degree homicide. On October 16, 1989, the judge gave him 4 life terms in a row, with a chance of parole after 52 years and 6 months. As of May 2025, David Braum is 53 years old. He is serving his sentence at the Minnesota Correctional Facility in Lino Lakes. Over the years, he has declined requests for interviews and has said little about why he carried out those actions. But wow, far will 2 teens go to keep a secret and silence the one person who knows the truth. On June 11, 2009, in El Dorado Hills, California, 14-year-old Tyler Witt and her 19-year-old boyfriend, Stephen Culver, ended Joanne Witt's life. Joanne was Tyler's mother. Tyler lived with her mother. Joanne was a single parent and an engineer. Their bond was strained. In the past, Tyler had done things that led to her mother briefly losing custody of her. In December 2008, Tyler met Stephen at a nearby coffee shop. Even though there was a big age gap, they started a romantic relationship. Tyler convinced her mother to let Stephen rent a room by saying he was gay. When Joanne found out the truth, she kicked Stephen out. She, then, took the diary to the police and reported what had happened. Facing charges for their unlawful relationship, Stephen and Tyler made a terrible plan. That night, Tyler slipped sleeping pills into her mother's drink. When Joanne fell asleep, Stephen let himself into the house. He and Tyler then struck Joanne around 20 times in her upper body. Afterward, they ran off to San Francisco. They left the air conditioner on to slow down the process of her body breaking down. On June 16, 2009, police arrested Tyler and Stephen in San Bruno, California. Officers caught them hiding behind a dumpster while changing clothes. In their hotel room, police also found signs they had tried to end their own lives. There was a mix of Fruit Loops cereal, cake, and rat poison. During questioning, Tyler first claimed she knew nothing about what happened to her mother. She then asked for a lawyer. Stephen said he was worried about Tyler but did not share much information. Tyler took a plea deal. She admitted guilt to second-degree charges so she could testify against Stephen. She said Stephen did it while she waited outside the bedroom. Stephen said Tyler had already caused their mother's passing when he arrived. The jury believed that Stephen acted with special intent. They found him guilty of first-degree charges. He was given life without the chance of release. Tyler was sentenced to a term of 15 years to life. On August 26, 2022, Tyler was released on parole. Stephen remains locked up at the California Healthcare Facility in Stockton, California. Lyle and Eric Menendez grew up in a family that looked wealthy and happy from the outside. Lyle was born in 1968 in New York City. Eric came next in 1970 in Blackwood, New Jersey. Their father, Jose Menendez, had emigrated from Cuba. He climbed the corporate ladder and became CEO of Live Entertainment. Their mother, Mary Louise Kitty Menendez, used to teach school. She gave up her job to raise her boys. In the 1980s, they moved to a large home in Beverly Hills, California. They enjoyed a high-end lifestyle there. Even so, life at home was far from perfect. The brothers later said their father often hurt them. They also said their mother knew and did nothing to stop it. Those claims would shape everything that followed. On August 20th, 1989, neighbors called police after hearing shots at the Menendez home. Officers found Jose and Kitty inside with gunshot wounds. Neither survived. Lyle, who was 21 at the time, was the one to call for help. Eric, then 18, was at the front door, visibly upset. At first, detectives thought the incident was linked to organized crime. Jose's business ties and wealth made that seem possible. Over the next few weeks, investigators noticed Lyle and Eric spending a lot of money. They bought expensive cars and jewelry. That lavish spending made police wonder if the brothers were telling the truth. During therapy sessions, Eric spoke about the shootings. His therapist, Dr. Jerome Oziel, made recordings. When Oziel handed those tapes over, police arrested both brothers in March 1990. Prosecutors charged them with 2 counts of first-degree homicide. Because of special rules, they faced the possibility of the maximum penalty. Their first trial, held in 1993, ended without a verdict. A second trial began in 1995. Each brother had a separate jury. The defense said Lyle and Eric acted to protect themselves. They said years of physical and other mistreatment drove them to that point. The brothers claimed they were desperate to stop the harm. Prosecutors disagreed. They argued the brothers planned everything in advance. They pointed to the shopping spree after the shootings. They argued the claims were false and meant to shift blame. In March 1996, juries found both brothers guilty of first-degree homicide. Each received life in prison with no chance of release. They spent many years apart in different prisons. In 2018, they ended up together at the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. The case came back into the spotlight in October 2024. Los Angeles District Attorney George Gascon asked a judge to cut their sentences to between 50 years and life. He cited new ideas about trauma and the brothers' claims of past mistreatment. Gascon lost his re-election bid that November. His successor, Nathan Hochman, fought the plan. Hochman called the brothers' story untrue. In May 2025, Judge Michael V. Jessic approved a hearing on the new sentence. It was set for May 13th to 14th, 2025. The result could change how long Lyle and Eric will stay locked up. As of May 2025, both brothers remain in prison, serving life terms without any option for release.